this game that I play whenever I am in an airport terminal. I love airports because they are the playgrounds of the imagination. If you're an immature person like me and you don't want to be yourself and you don't want other people to be who they are, you can project identities onto them and you can assume new ones, and so sometimes I'll whisper into my cups like I'm a spy or things like that. And I'll just pretend and then I'll get on the airplane and no one will notice because nobody cares. But there's this one particular time I'm sitting in an airport terminal and I'm waiting for my flight. I'm in California, I'm going to be flying to Philadelphia. And I look out and I'm looking at people because the lady won't let us on the plane. And I see a young woman, and this is, by the way, this is what guys do when they have nothing to do. They look through the room to see who the pretty girls are. And that's happening right now. And kidding. So I'm sitting there and I look and I see this young woman and she's breathtaking. She's got pitch black hair, like beautiful milk-colored skin, and like really like blue, like professionally blue eyes, like they went to school for. And she's reading Kurt Vonnegut too, so she's like not yet totally grown up, so she'll fall for my shit. And so, you know what I mean? So, and I'm looking, and she's reading her book, and I'm just enthralled. And she looks up, and she happens to see me looking at her, and so I naturally look away, right? Because I don't know what to do. And I look back, and she's still looking, and she gives me the eye. And so I give her the eye back. Less creepy, it was that creepy. And I got. So, and immediately I begin this fantasy, which is a fantasy that I will carry throughout the rest of my life. And I decide that in my mind what will happen is that I will get on the airplane and I will be sitting in my seat and I'll be like sitting through the little pouch in front of me and looking for Sky Mall, right, because we all read that. And she will come and sit next to me and her hand will accidentally graze my hand and we'll both go, oh, I'm sorry, at the same time. And then we'll laugh at that and then, you know, we'll share all of the Me Too's and the Oh My Gods and we'll promptly fall in love. And we'll be next to each other and we'll be like learning how much we adore each other and have always adored each other. When halfway through the flight, the plane will crash into the ocean. Regardless of whether or not it's actually flying over an ocean, in my mind this is what happens. And we crash into the ocean and though I'm not much of a swimmer, frankly, I will find her bobbing among the wreckage, and I will drag her onto the shores of an island. I'm not kidding, I do this. I will drag her onto the shores of an island with the rest of the survivors, and she and I will get married, and we will populate the island with little pale, blue-eyed, black-haired, skinny-ankled, dainty ankles children, and she will be my island wife, right? And so I'm like, oh yeah, island wife, right? So I get on the airplane, the lady lets us on the plane. And she leads me all the way back to the back of the plane, where I'm up against the wall where the bathrooms are, right? Where you lose that, like, millimeter of space to recline. And you're, like, angry about it for the rest of the flight. And I'm back there, and I'm sitting hopefully, but of course, she does not bring Island Wife to sit next to me. Instead, she brings a his and hers matching pear-shaped couple, each of whom are holding their own personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut, which is not food. It's like a dish sponge soaked in lard. And they proceed to just not even eat, just like there was a chewing involved. It just like disappeared into the maw. And they sit there and they just devour these pieces of pizza. And realizing that Island Wife, who's been seated 20 rows ahead of me, will not be sitting next to me, I decide the only thing to do is to go to sleep. So I go to sleep. I awake, I guess an hour later, 4 minutes. I wake an hour later, first, to the odor. Then second, to the sound. And third, and most horribly, to the feeling of a large pear-shaped gentleman violently vomiting. Yeah, his personal pan pizza into his personal pan puke bag. And I'm imagine waking up and just like right next to you. And his wife beside him, in some horrible stereo, is also throwing up into his bag. And I'm a panicky guy, I panic over breakfast, you know, and like, I wake up and like, and I'm up against the window, and I can't crawl out of the window because we'll all die. And I'm just, like, as they're throwing up next to me. And eventually they get up, and the two of them shamble vomitously into their mutual his and hers personal pan bathrooms. Really proceed to, you know, it's fun. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, just, okay, I gotta go to this plane. And it's at that point my brain reminds me that I have to pee. And they won't let me pee in first class. And so I stand up and I wait, and eventually the door opens and the wife comes out and she does this whole like, sorry. And I go, no, it's totally okay, even though I'm like, fuck you. And so she goes and she sits down and I open the door to go and pee. And it's like the smell of sin. And I can identify, I didn't know I had this talent, that the pizza had come out both up and down. I mean, this matters to the story. I can identify that, and I just, you do that thing where you're like, you gotta pee, so I go in, and I'm doing my business, and I'm peeing, and it's at that point that turbulence hits the plane, and I naturally pee on my hands. And so now I'm like, I'm running out of oxygen, and I go, and now I go, and I gotta wash my hands. I'm washing my hands, and I'm running out of oxygen. Oh my god, it smells like awful hell in here. And what am I gonna do? And I finally get my hands washed, and I open the door, and who's standing right in front of me? But it's goddamn Island Wife. And I look at her, I look into her perfect blue eyes, and I go, and I see her hair just back as the awful comes from the room. And her expression curdles to a look of disgust. And I can see our generations of children just erupt, just disappearing into time. And I try to explain, and I go, no, but and I point, I go, no, but she... And they're asleep. In their seats. And I look at her and I go, forget it. And I brush past her and I go, and that is who she thinks, that's how she thinks of me. And will always think of me as the guy who left that behind him. And I didn't. Thank you.